Hi, this is Ryan Bush with Pacific Reiki. Meditation has been around for thousands of years, and for just as long, people have talked extremely eloquently about the huge number of benefits that meditation can have in our lives. While a great number of people have used meditation in their lives and understood for themselves just how completely transformative it can be, in our modern world, there are a huge number of people who either haven't heard of meditation or don't understand why they should bother with it in their lives, or just don't do it for a variety of reasons. In other videos, I've talked about various misconceptions about meditation. For example, that meditation is hard, that meditation has to take a long time, that meditation is only for certain people who are deeply into consciousness or spirituality, and other misconceptions like that. I've also talked in other videos about how we can go about meditation and various kinds of meditation, but it really doesn't matter how many videos we do about how to go about meditation if it isn't clear why we need to meditate. So in this video, I wanted to talk about why meditation is so important and why people who haven't felt the need to give it a try before, or who might have tried it but gave up feeling that it wasn't for them, why it's so important to really give it a shot and work through some of the obstacles that can commonly come up. So, one of the first ideas that many people have about meditation is that it's primarily about relaxing or taking a break from reality. For example, that's an attitude that my mother had. I tried a number of times to help her understand why meditation can be so helpful and important, but she just thought it was about taking a break from our ordinary life. And it is, in fact, true that meditation does give us a shift away from our ordinary state of being, and it can be deeply calming for all parts of our body, mind, and energy. But there are a huge number of benefits aside from being calming. So, one of the other benefits that meditation has is helping us to understand our mind and how our mind and emotions can tend to spin on and on and on. Most of us think that's just an ordinary part of life, that it's only natural for our minds to be constantly spinning. It doesn't help that in our modern world, a great number of us have smartphones with us at all times, or laptops or other devices. So anytime we feel the slightest bit bored or frustrated about something, we can just pull out our phones and get distracted with any number of things. And then our minds are just constantly active 24/7. You know, including when we're trying to sleep, or we may find that our minds just go on and on and on and on, thinking about some kind of challenge we've been dealing with, being upset about the past, worrying about the future, basically doing anything other than focusing deeply on what we're trying to do or focusing on just being. We hardly ever allow ourselves to just purely be. So, meditation gives us a huge number of opportunities to understand the nature of our minds. And once we understand that our mind tends to spin on and on, for example, because it's so difficult for us to remain focused on whatever we're trying to focus on, like our breath or looking at a candle or whatever we're meditating on. Once we understand the nature of our mind to spin on and on in this way, then we can start to try to do something about it. Various traditions call this aspect of our mind the monkey mind, because it's like a monkey constantly darting all over the place, uh, constantly being curious about this or that, and basically being extremely unfocused. So once we understand that our mind can act this way, then we can start to use meditation to practice over and over again, returning to our focus with as much love and compassion for ourselves as we can muster. And by practicing doing that during meditation, we can apply that on our daily lives. Anytime we find ourselves getting distracted or noticing that our mind is spinning on, or our emotions are keeping us being really, really upset about something without really addressing it in any way. Anytime we're distracted in these ways, we can decide, just like in meditation, to return to our focus with as much love and compassion for ourselves as we can do. And therefore, meditation is like a superpower that can help us be far more effective in our lives. You know, anything we're trying to be good at in life or be successful at requires us to focus at a very deep level on one task at a time instead of constantly being scattered across a ton of different things. And meditation is extremely helpful at developing what's called single pointed focus, where we practice that during meditation, focusing on one thing, like our breath, or looking at a traditional mandala, or using prayer beads, or any number of different kinds of meditation. And by focusing on that deeply, we learn to use that skill in our daily lives. So that's one of the most large benefits of meditation, is helping us become far more effective in life. We don't have to just let our thoughts spin on and on. We don't have to just constantly be upset about something for hours at a time, or days, or weeks, or years. If there's something we can address, then we can deal with that with not as much emotional baggage as we usually bring to a situation. That doesn't mean we have to pretend we're not upset about something. We can deeply feel whatever sadness or anxiety or whatever we're feeling. We can acknowledge that, and I'll talk in other videos about how we can work deeply with those kinds of things, all kinds of challenging emotions. But when we allow ourselves to focus extremely deeply on things, it can be completely transformative in our lives. One of the other benefits is not just noticing when we're distracted, but noticing when we're out of balance in one way or another. During meditation, we can practice bringing ourselves into more balance in a number of different ways. For example, if we're too alert, we're like hyper vigilant, then we can add the opposite kind of feeling. For example, being more relaxed. And on the other hand, if we're too relaxed, we can add more alertness. So we can always apply opposites in whatever way we need to bring ourselves more into balance during meditation. And we can apply that same skill in our daily lives. Whatever way we're out of balance, we can remember that there are ways to bring ourselves back into balance. There's a lot more to say about how to do these techniques, but here I'm just focusing on the main benefits and why we should give meditation a chance, even if we haven't understood anything about it in the past or haven't given it a shot for real. One of the other benefits is that, we can develop what's called radical acceptance, where we can, at a very, very deep level, accept whatever situation we're currently in. In the normal way of approaching life, it's extremely easy to just feel that the current situation isn't fair or shouldn't be happening, or somebody did something really wrong and we're just massively upset about it. Again, it doesn't mean we have to agree with how other people are acting or think that how things are acting is ideal or fair. It means we can't possibly change the past, so the most effective way to deal with the present moment and to set us up for success in the future is to radically accept whatever's happening. again, this is a kind of superpower we can develop in life through meditation. One of the other benefits of meditation is understanding all parts of ourselves. You know, most of the time we spend life in what we could call the ordinary state of being. Some people would call that the ego, or other names for this aspect of our mind. Uh, our body and energy also have this ordinary level of, what we're used to about what our bodies usually can do, what our minds usually can do, and all that. But there's also what we could call a lower level of being, where we're less able to function in some part of our body, mind, or energy. For example, if we're dealing with various kinds of chronic pain or illnesses of the body that can put us at a lower level of functioning. Similarly, with the mind, there are many times when we might be severely burdened by various kinds of stress or anxiety or feelings of being overwhelmed, perhaps depression. There are many different ways that our mind might not be functioning ideally. And similarly with our energy, if we're feeling just completely drained of energy, or that we're feeling stuck or in a rut, or various ways that our energy might not be flowing smoothly. It's important to point out that whatever level we're at, whether it's ordinary or lower, or however we're feeling, none of these ways are inherently better or worse than others. It's just how we currently are feeling. And so we have to start exactly where we are. So if we're at the lower level, that's where we're at. If we're at the ordinary level, that's where we're at. And then there's also a higher level of being. So, and again, that applies to all parts of our body, mind, and energy. If our body is at the higher level of functioning, that's when we might, see, for example, elite athletes or musicians or artists who are able to use their bodies in extremely talented and brilliant ways. We can think of a virtuoso level of being with the body. And similarly with the mind, when we're at the higher level, we might have brilliant leaps of intuition or creativity or ways of understanding or explaining things, all the things we usually associate with various levels of genius. And similarly with our energy, when we're at the higher level of functioning, our energy flows not just like it ordinarily does in daily life or at the lower level. It's at a virtuoso level of our energy flow. And in the system of Reiki, we talk about the practice of entering the Reiki space, which is a highly energized, fully open state where our energy flows extremely beautifully, and we can use that for all kinds of purposes, including helping to share that energy with other people. Or, if we're at the lower or ordinary level, we can use these practices to shift into a higher level of functioning. So we'll talk in more detail about these various levels of being, lower, ordinary, and higher. But the point here is that meditation is one set of tools for helping recognize where we're currently at and accepting that that's how we're currently feeling. And if we want to shift into a more effective way of being, then meditation is one set of tools to help us get there. Another set of reasons why meditation is so important is that it can help us gain far more perspective on whatever we're dealing with. Meditation can help us shift into, a much more detailed level of looking at things, or zooming out to a much broader level of perspective. For example, if we're meditating on physical sensations, we might just start by noticing whatever we happen to feel on the inside of our body. We might notice some pain or discomfort in our back, for example, or we might just notice how we're sitting on the chair, or how we're holding our body, if we have tension in any part of our body. But we can zoom in at an extremely deep level to any part of our body and really check in with that part of our body in a way that it comes much more deeply alive in an extremely beautiful way. Or we can zoom out and feel the big picture of how our body is relating all parts of itself together. Or we can shift our perspective out to see, how the entire situation of the world fits together. There are always ways to shift our perspective in extremely beautiful ways. So anytime we're feeling stuck in one perspective, meditation can help us radically transform that. One thing I'd just like to close with is, by mentioning myself. I've had to deal with a fair number of challenges in life, including more than 8 years of very severe back pain. I've had to deal with cancer, uh, having my parents pass away, including my mom passing away just last year. I know just what life can throw at us. And if it weren't for tools like meditation, I don't know if I would have been able to deal with these challenges as successfully as I have. Nobody's perfect, but meditation can really, really help us be far more effective in life, not just to accomplish brilliant, amazing things, but even just to deal with whatever challenges we're dealing with. It can often feel overwhelming, whether we're talking about things going on in our personal life, situations in the world that we don't have any control over. There are countless ways that life can really beat us down, to be honest. And, meditation can radically help us be far more effective at all aspects of our lives. So, in closing, I'll just mention so much more is possible in life than most of us realize, and meditation really can help us get there. If anyone has any thoughts or questions, please let me know. Peace, love, and blessings.